and making for the community. So I just have some photos and I could talk for hours. So I prefer if you just shout questions out so I know what interests everybody, because I could really talk about a number of things. But so this is us. We have 4 kids, and B is going to college, and I'm having some feelings about that. Okay, so how we got here, I just want to quickly, I drove the kids, I'm from Maine originally, and I drove the kids across country in my minivan. This is like just after we dropped off Brendan, I think, when they were little, and I drove them from Portland, Oregon to Portland, Maine. And then it was so fun driving, having this like cross-country adventure with the kids, me and the kids, that I said we need a bigger van to go places. So we got this bigger van and we built it out. Brendan and I did everything in it. And then I was like, let's take the van on a ferry. So we're living in Portland, Oregon. So we did. And of course, we went to Orcas and Camp Moran. We loved it. And when we came back, we're telling our neighbors about it. And they were like, you're Lopez people. And you know what? We are Lopez people. I was so, and so next thing you know, like the next thing you know, there we are. Here we are. So this was 2019, like about a year before COVID. We bought a 40-acre field. And I just want to say, we had 0 farming experience. We belonged to a CSA in San Francisco, so we were considered ourselves experts, you know. You know, we have sheep now, and I only livestock experience is cats before we got here. So, and we bought a hay fields with nothing on it, and we're in a kind of an odd spot on the island where we're not connected. It's really hard to get connected to the grid, just so we're off grid, totally off grid, and we just moved here and lived in this 98 square foot tiny house, which is like the size of a small walk-in closet. Brendan was commuting back and forth in the van to his job in Portland, and I was living in this, it was a shell of a tiny house that we bought, and I was a sucker because it's called a shepherd's hut, because it's like what people like shepherds typically follow the flock like that, and I was like, hey, we're getting sheep, we're gonna live in this shepherd's hut, 98 square feet. And so you can see, I don't know if you can see this picture, but there's a, can you tell if I put like, yeah, so this is, this bench, oops, this bench right here is where I slept, and it's also where we ate. We had no running water, so we had to go, there's no bathroom, we had an outhouse. You can see there's this like not even finished. I'm putting up like siding over the insulation, we have propane heater. We lived there for almost 2 years, me and 4 kids, but there's 2 beds, 2 kids on top, 2 kids in the bottom. All their shoes were outside that they all molded over the winter. Yeah. I really want to do a shout out to Alistair and Anita. Alistair is not here, but I don't know if any of you know Alistair and Anita, but Alistair installed a hot water heater for us on Thanksgiving Day, and I'm almost like teary in terms of like how kind and what a profound thing it was to have hot water in our, and like, that was really special that Alistair did that for us. Then we built this barn, and we had people, our neighbors and friends from Portland came up, and we did like a real old school like barn raising. And one of the reasons why we did that first was so that we could get the solar panels, so we could have some electricity. So we built our barn, and then, okay, and then we got sheep. And so, you know, because we're a farm, I had to make a farm plan to submit to the county for tax purposes, and it's like a 5-year plan, and like, I think year 5 was to get sheep, and so this is year 5. Really, we started living there full time in like June, and I got sheep in August. I was like we have no perimeter. We only recently got a perimeter fencing, so everything is. I'm doing everything with this portable electronet. I have no experience to get 5 sheep, and next thing you know, I have 60 sheep. That's how sheep math works. But the original flock came from Wild Rose Farm down on Whidbey Island. They're a heritage long wool breed that I was growing specifically for the wool. So this sweater, oh, you know what? This sweater came from Huckle, who is right here, if you can see that one. Yes, so the reason why like this breed, and you can kind of see in this picture right here how they have these really long locks. So when we shear them every 9 months, which usually people shear every year, once a year. The wool is like this long, so I can get enough from each shearing for almost, depending on how it's spun, for 2 sweaters. So I like that they produce a lot of wool. And then we're vegetarians, and so I really appreciate that some people have helped sponsor farmers in the food share and have purchased some of our lamb to support the food share. I really don't want to be selling meat, but I really like the idea of supporting local grass-fed organic protein sources on the island, which are hard to come by. And I really appreciate the people who are funding the food share that can then in turn purchase the lamb from us. And that's really a game changer for us, to have a place where the sheep can go. Also, really briefly, I want to make a quick plug for on-farm slaughter and how stress-free it is for the animals. I'm crying the whole time. And the first time it happened, I called Faith and was like, I can't be a farmer anymore. But I do feel like it's the best, most humane way to have the animals. And we haven't been able to belong to the truck, so we have someone come out from Delphox and do it for us, but I feel strongly about it's the best thing for the animals, even though it's horrible for me. Also, you can see here in these pictures, the electronet fencing. So we practice intensive rotational grazing. So I'm moving the sheep every few days, which for a number of reasons. It helps keep down the worms because the parasites grow up through the water in the grass. So if the sheep if they eat all the way down, if they're allowed to stay in one area, they'll eat all the way down, then they're ingesting more of the parasites. So we try to keep them ahead of that parasite cycle so we don't have to medicate them as much. It also, if we do it in an area where we like what's growing there, they eat it down just enough to stimulate regrowth. And so then we're drawing down more carbon and we're getting better. We're able to feed the more sheep from the land than we would if we just kind of gave them a free range. The other thing that happens is when I move them quickly, they go right out and they just kind of graze everything. And when they're in it's called a high stocking density, where there's a bunch of sheep in a smaller area and I move them a lot, then they kind of eat everything, versus if I have a low stocking density, a few sheep in a big area, we'll just kind of pick and choose. And they're like, no, that Alta fescue, it doesn't go well in my mouth. They won't eat it. So, so that's one of the reasons why we do it. It's slightly more work, but I think we are able, it's better for our land, it's better for the sheep, it's better overall. Oh, so we got here in June, and would you believe on Thanksgiving, the day after Thanksgiving, we did our first farmer's market. And when I saw this photo, I was like, I cannot believe we did that. We had our first farmer's market, a little winter market, and Brendan makes bagels and I make donuts, and I just was like stunned looking at this photo that we got here in June, and then here we are in November already doing that. That's wild. So that's how we started. Oh, and so now we're woolen. We basically focus on wool and wheat. We're off grid with the solar panels. We're also strictly wood heat. So if anybody has any extra logs, we have no trees on our property. We're always available to come pick up your extra rounds because we're only wood heat. So this is a picture, an aerial picture of it. And one of the things I think is cool about this photo, this was COVID time. You can kind of see over here, you can actually see like where I had where I moved the sheep each time, because maybe I didn't line up the fencing just right. And this is like more summertime, but usually you can kind of see like the different colors of green, like and then in the regrowth, depending on the time of year. It's really once you start doing rotational grazing, it's hard to go back because you can see the dramatic positive impacts it's having on the land. We are right now doing we have 3 main paddocks. One is in what's called a lay pasture, which is LEI. It's so that's pretty much where the animals are going to be for 6 years. And the other 2 paddocks, they're on a 3-year rotation between wheat, another grain, which is usually rye, oats or barley, and then like a legume cover crop, like we do a lot of winter peas. So just to keep we're really working to restore soil health, because this has been hayed for so long. Well, then every time they hay, they're just taking the nutrition off. And so we've been really focused on how to rebuild that soil health since we've been here, and incorporating the livestock kind of have an important role in rebuilding the soil health. The winter kind of bumps me out because it's so much less time we get to spend outside getting stuff done. But, so you can see here, we've got an apiary. We've been keeping these for almost 20 years. So we had an apiary. We found this triangle shape is the best for rotationally, for moving the chickens around. We can't keep them otherwise because we lose so many of the eagles, but this triangle shape doesn't tip over in the wind like other things. So we have lost lots of chickens learning that the hard way. And then this spot down here in the bottom is where we had our house brought in. Oh, wait. We had our house brought in, which it's a rescue house from Canada. They were going to tear it down for condos. And like we adopted it and brought it in on the barge. It was built like in 1930s. Wait, I just want to show you, this is COVID. So this is on the kid's bed, and it's the higher bunk. We've got chickens, we've got a kitten, we've got cheese making book that the kitten is standing on. And then during COVID, I decided we needed a dairy cow. And then, okay, so I have no experience with cows. I remember going to get the cow and being like, God, that is really bigger than I thought, because I'm used to the sheep. And I have no experience. Cats, that's my experience. Cows. So the cow was pregnant. They're like, oh, she's pregnant. It'll probably be a few months. We get 2 days later. I look out and there are their feet coming out, like the feet and the nose. And so she gave birth. Sarah Jones, the angel that came and helped me, taught me how to milk cows. Yeah, then our house came. Oh, also during COVID, we got this beauty. Does anybody know what this is? It's a combine. So I wanted to say is because we're farming on a 40-acre scale, that is when they had family farm size. And so nowadays, if you try to buy equipment, if you want to buy a combine, it would be $2 million and you could do our field in like one pass. So we're using equipment back when there used to be family farms and there used to be 40-acre farms. And so this is called an all crop because it can harvest pretty much anything. I bought it on an auction from a man named Mr. Best in Kansas. And Mr. Best thought it was going to go to a museum, and he was like beside himself. Apparently, we were like the talk of the coffee shop because it was going to an island in Washington, and people were going to use it. And could you believe that? And so I paid $700 for the combine and spent $5,000 to get it to us. Yeah. And so it speaks to like, we're farming on this scale and this equipment doesn't exist anymore. So the other thing, we have a seed cleaner, which I bought from somebody who had restored it in Ohio. It's a clipper. So that also was like $200 and the Jillian to get to us. Here's the combine. And I don't know if any of you can see in the photo, this is recognized one of the things that was up there, but this is oats that we're harvesting. We're harvesting Hollis oats. And and over here you can see the sheep are grazing right after we've harvested. Because we have many ways that we're working to try and restore soil health. One of the ways is that we intercrop with clover. So while in the seed, when Brendan's running the seed drill, there's a small box for the clover and then a larger box for the grains. The clover is in there because we're trying to boost the nitrogen content in the soil because that increases the protein in the grains. And it's low because of it being harvested as hay all the time. So after we harvest the grains, you can see like at the time of year when we're harvesting the grains, not this year, but because of all the water, but other years, it's just like blonde out there. There's nothing really green, but underneath, after we harvest it, the clover's under there. And then we run the sheep on it and it's like the best thing they've eaten in weeks. And the sheep then can terminate all that clover and anything, and then we can disc it and replant again. So the sheep are playing a really important role in terms of terminating any cover crops or intercropping. Also kind of what we're doing with the soil. Then the sheep are fertilizing the soil. I'm not storing compost, so the sheep spread their own manure, and it's just this wonderful circle we have going on. So this might help some of those. This is red fife wheat that we're growing over here. These are the hulless oats. And we mainly feed these to the sheep. We're trying to minimize off-farm inputs. It's expensive to feed the sheep over the winter, so we're trying to feed them with some of our grains. And then over here, this looks like barley. And the thing that also on the back table, the thing with the really long stems, that's rye, but it looks similar to barley with these awns. And we learned, I love actually connecting with the Burts. Donnie Burt Jr. has been a big asset for us in terms of the sheep, but also they tell us all these, like the old timers taught us, because we didn't have perimeter fencing, that they would plant the barley around the outside because the deer don't like all these giant awns. They're really pokey in their mouth, and it protects the wheat on the inside. Just like old school tips like that. I think we need to be more open to reaching out to some of those old school farming tips. Okay, and this is then we also, so we intercrop within the grains to try and increase soil health. And then we also do these pollinator strips. So this is a combine width in between the varieties. This purple bit right here is a purple hulless barley that we tried this year, but this thing in the middle is a pollinator strip. And we just try to go as diverse as we can, just trying to keep as many different plants in the soil as we can. So this is Lacey Phacelia, and because we have the bees, this is red clover. It's beautiful, but it doesn't reseed itself as well as some of the other clovers we've tried. Obviously, this is breadseed poppy that we grow, and this one, if you saw it in the back there, it's those like little tiny pom-poms that shake. Those are flax seeds, and they are my #1 favorite thing because they need no water. They do really well. The sheep love them. I grow, and then a lot of times when we're growing stuff, we aren't sticking to single varieties. We do what's called a population. So in the flax, I have a population of flax. So I have yellow, brown, tall, short. And one of the reasons why we do that is because we're saving the seed back every year. And so whatever is doing really well is what's going to be replanted. And it's kind of helping us get some resiliency towards climate change, kind of what's adapting to our field. And so we try to do as many population things as we can to get the variety and get what's best for our little niche area. And then we have sunflowers. We have all kinds of stuff that we've been experimenting with. The trick is, I learned the hard way. We learned a lot of things the hard way, is to get the things that are like, I put bachelor's buttons in one time with the flax, and they grow to the same height. Then when I'm harvesting the flax, I'm harvesting bachelor's buttons too. So it's just a matter of getting those things right. Interestingly, I harvest the flax with an antique blueberry rake because I'm from Maine, and it's a thing with tines. I think it's like a chamomile rake, but I use the blueberry rake because I'm from Maine and like to do that. We have a mill that we got. Thank you to a food infrastructure grant from the Washington State Department of Agriculture. It is a unique Astrier style mill. And the reason why we have this mill is because it's a stone mill, but the way that it's structured, and Brendan can answer more questions about this, it is able to extract more nutrition from the grains, which was what we need where we are, while also giving it a finer texture so it's easier to bake with. So it ends up taking the bran off in big flakes, and bran is usually what's like sandpaper and puncturing the bubbles and when the air gases in your bread. And I feel like Calvin Hofstad explained this, and Brendan would do a better job. But so we have the Astrier style mill. We got it because it increases, we get more nutrition, and it's easier to bake. Bake with is more familiar. It creates a more familiar product. And then we're baking with our grains. Brendan makes bagels. He makes a lemon rosemary bread that's really delicious based on Della Vittoria. He makes pretzels. He makes the currant walnut, which is my favorite. He makes whole wheat sesame, also excellent. And then this root broad, which is a rye. And then I make donuts. And then I do stuff with hope. Oh, I think I said that here. We sell at the Little Winter Market, the San Juan Island Farmers Market, and Brennan is setting up a little farm stand so that people can order and pick up from him on Saturdays, wherever he's going to be. And That's everything.